This is Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast. With your hosts, Brendan Spinner, Michael Burns, and Kyle Rose.
Hello and welcome into another episode of Barrels and Barrels, Bourbon and Baseball podcast. I am Brandon Spinner alongside Michael Burns. How you doing today, Michael?
Let's get to some bourbon.
Let's get to some bourbon. That is the portion of the podcast that we are doing today. We are not going to talk much about baseball, maybe not anything at all. Today is a bourbon review of Jeppson's bourbon. Do you know anything about Jeppson's at all, Mikey?
Meet George Jeppson? Is that who you're talking about?
Do you know?
No, I have with the information that you wrote on the sample you sent. It's a 4-year 100 proof.
First off, I want to thank Malort Maven on Instagram and Jeppson's Bourbon for sending us this bottle.
Heck yeah.
This is cool. I've had Jeppson's before. For those of you listening,
first for me.
Yeah, I've had a bottle. I got actually a store pick from Benny's in Chicago. This is Jeppson's. It's a CH distillery option, but they do not distill it. It's a blended and bottled by CH Distillery out of Chicago, Illinois. If you've heard of Jeppson's, you've probably heard of Malort. You haven't?
I've heard it through conversation, but I've never had it.
So Malort is a very, very, very Chicago drink. Let's just say it's not for everyone. It's very divisive for many people. I have not had it personally.
Whether it's good or bad?
There's a lot of people that say it's very, very different. We'll just put it that way. Not going to knock it. I haven't tried it. I've just heard that it's compared to Pine Sol, like drinking Pine Sol. Some people hate it. Some people love it. But it's normally one of those things you go to Chicago and a Chicagoan goes, hey, let's get around a Malort. And it's normally something
you shoot it?
Yeah, you shoot it. I haven't had it. So I can't speak for everybody, but and I think I just outed myself as a Chicagoan for not having Malort. Please don't buy it for me, but I'll have it at some point, I'm sure. But this is Jeppson's bourbon. It's a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys. This is bottled at 100 proof. As you see on YouTube, where we are always shooting our video, you can also stream us anywhere you've got your podcasts. But on YouTube, you can see the bottle. It's just a normal looking bottle, but the logo, they changed up their logo design. It used to look a lot more like Malort's bottle. Now it's just a plain, kind of a cream colored label on the front. It says Jeppson's with 2 P's, bourbon, and there's 4 stars at the top, which is kind of a nod to Chicago, and that is why I've got my Cubs City Connect hat on with the old Chicago star right in the middle. 100 proof, as I mentioned. So Jeppson's, they source this from Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. I believe their 100 proof is just from Indiana and Tennessee. It's a blend of those. It's minimum of 4 years. It's aged a minimum of 4 years, non-chill filtered. They have won gold medal, 91-point rating by the Beverage Testing Institute, So they have won some awards from this. I believe this is primarily MGP. I can't speak for what the Tennessee portion of this is, because you can get multiple different polls for Tennessee whiskey or Tennessee bourbon. But this is a bourbon, 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% barley. It's very affordable.
All right, Brandon.
Yeah.
So if it's 100 proof, aged at least 4 years, why isn't it bottle and bond? What's it missing to be a bottle and bond?
They probably didn't get it bonded by the government. I think you have to have it bonded by the government in a bonded warehouse where it ages. So that would be my guess. I think it costs money to do that. I don't know 100% sure. I'm not too well versed in what you have to do to get something to be bottled and bond. I know that is the minimum, and it has to be either in the fall or the spring when it enters the barrel. And this is also a blend, so I don't know if you can blend bottle and bonds. Can you, with multiple different types of whiskey? That's something.
The picture I have here says the sticker says it's a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys. So we'll have to look into that.
That'll be a later episode, as we'll do. I'm sure we'll have a bottle and bond breakdown. I love bottle and bond, whether that's just rye, whether it's regular whiskey, or if it's just a bourbon. I'm a bottle and bond snob. So 100
If
proof.
you're going to the store and you're trying to pick something random out, it's probably a safe bet to grab a bib.
I got nuts.
What do you get on the nose right away? I see you sniffing that.
Yeah.
What?
A nutty, like almost a pecan, some brown sugar.
I'm definitely getting fruit, like a dark fruit on the nose right away.
It's got a sweeter smell, but I've got more of like a dessert, like a sugar, like a brown sugary whiff out of this.
Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of it. It's not a high rye, right? So I don't get a lot of the rye spice smell, which usually I enjoy a lower rye content.
So it's 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% barley.
Okay.
Non-chill filtered. It smells. I'm getting a little vanilla.
Yeah, it has that. A note I see here as I'm scrolling. I like it's a classic bourbon nose. All right, so you took a swig there. What do you got right away?
Brown sugar for sure on the taste right away. Match it. Not everything matches what you smell, right? That's what makes things unique. But right off the bat, this tastes how it smells. So it's true to that. What did you think as you chewed a little bit on that?
I do get more of the vanilla up front on the mouth. It tastes this tastes like a traditional bourbon. I don't get a lot of burn out of it, so it is I would say it's a good 100 proof.
Yeah, agreed.
And then let's see. I'm gonna take one more swig to then feel off the finish.
Mm-hmm. I get a lot. As Michael mentioned it's a traditional bourbon to me. It's not anything that is, oh my God, that's incredible, but it's not anything that's like, oh, that's disgusting, right? Like, that is a tried and true, like, very good
classic bourbon.
Right, classic.
I would definitely see this. It's a fall night. You're sitting around with your friends. And this week could be something you easily go through that whole bottle, depending on how many around that fire.
This is a very crushable
it's easy
bottle.
to go back to. Yes.
Very easy. You could find yourself, as Michael just mentioned, going to this multiple times for multiple pours. I enjoyed the single barrel that I got, as I mentioned, from Binny's. I know Dad's Drinking Bourbon has done some barrel picks with them. The higher proof does come out really, really well as well. This is the first bottle of just straight 100 proof that I've had. This is really good.
How much was it too?
And that's the thing. It's very affordable. And that's the cool part of this. Just for this bottle alone, if you go to buy this anywhere that they sell it, I know they sell it in Tennessee. I've seen it in Chicago. And I saw it here in Kentucky over at the Party Source. It's $23.99 to $25.99 for the most part.
Man,
the single barrels are going to...
This could be put a fight for... how much the single barrel?
Right around $29.99 to $35 at Binny's. So,
man, so this 100 proof, it's $23. That could be put up a fight for like your value bourbon.
It's very good.
On the finish, I get a lot of the oak as it's hanging around and lingering on my tongue here. I get more of the oak. One guy notes he gets some buttery cornbread on the finish. I mean, if I try really hard, I don't get the cornbread because I don't eat a lot of cornbread necessarily, but I can get a little buttery feel to it.
I got a butterscotch on the opening. It's good. This is a very, as Michael said, you sit around a campfire, just go to this multiple times. You can smash a bottle of this very quick, I think. A very dangerous pour. This is definitely.
It's a younger. It is younger at 4 years. Not too young, but it's not bad. They did this one right.
Very good stuff. So, what would you rate this, Michael, on our rating scale?
He's easily a bench player on my team. I'm gonna feel confident going to him. If it's an easy, cheap, everyday pour. So I'm not going to call him an everyday player necessarily, but he's an easy go-to pour every day if you're not trying to break the bank. This could be something, if you're just the kind of guy that goes to the store, buys a bottle, and then you go back to the store when you run out of that one, this could be that go-to bourbon for you.
I agree. You know what I would put this up with? I think it's a very underrated bottle. JTS Brown Bottled and Bond. They're coming in at the same proof. That is put out by Heaven Hill. It's very good. I'm in between bench and everyday player here.
Right.
For the fact that it is easily a go-to every day, right? If you just want something, you come home from work and you're looking at something that is just going to come through, that's going to have the profile you're looking for. Not an all-star, right? It's not going to be one that you're standing in line to wait or try to get and buy, but it's on the shelf. It's affordable. I'm giving it an everyday player rating just for the fact that it is cheap. It is delicious. It's a higher proof than some of the other stuff you're going for all the time, right? At 100 proof. It's between a bench to an everyday player, but if I'm going to go between, I'm going to go for the higher rating of the two.
I think so too.
And that's an everyday player for me.
This would win a blind. I think if you blinded this against some others, this guy would come out close to the top.
I 100% agree. You know what I'm not trying to compare bourbons to baseball players, but like this reminds me of a Ben Zobrist, right? Like he's the glue to your lineup. It's not something that he's not going to be incredible. He's not Benny and the Jets. Okay.
Hey, look at that, Benny. Oh, look at that lineup right there. Benny and the Jeppsons right there.
Yeah, Benny and the Jeppsons. There we go. So Jeppson's bourbon, fantastic pour. I really enjoy this. A big thank you over to the folks over at CH Distillery for sending the Jeppson's bourbon. At Malort Maven on Instagram. You can find Jeppson's Bourbon on Instagram. They are, as you say it, JEPPSONS Bourbon on Instagram. And they also have a Malort page, Jeppson's Malort. You can follow them there. Awesome stuff here. A big thank you to them. I enjoy this pour, and I think that you would as well. Very affordable. And I think that that's what makes this such a good bottle is it's not a $55 bottle that if you don't like it, that's fine. You didn't spend a ton of money on it. But I would have a hard time finding someone who disliked this.
I think people are going to be turned off by the screw cap.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's a screw cap, but it seals fine. I don't think it's going to change.
It seals fine. It's more of just the feel. If you put a cork on it, you get a more quality feel out of the bottle.
I understand that for aesthetics. Sure. But aesthetics. But at that point, I mean, I'd rather have a good bourbon with a screw top than a crappy bourbon that I spent $100 on because it costs more for the bottle, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So, good stuff there, Michael. On YouTube, you'll see where our handles are. But, Michael, can you tell us where our viewers and listeners can find us?
You can find me on Instagram at BNB_Burns. On Instagram, you can find our podcast here on Instagram page where we post a lot of content. Be sure to give us likes there and views. And we respond to messages on Instagram very quickly. You might not know who is responding. If it's tailored to somebody, you'll be sure to get the response from the right person. And that's at Barrels and Barrels Pod. Right, Brendan?
Yep. So, again, Barrels, the letter N, Barrels Pod. I am Brandon Spinner. You can find me at whiskey_weather. I try to be as responsive as possible as well, which I think that all three of us do very well. Kyle, unfortunately, couldn't join us today. He's not a huge bourbon guy as it was, so he would just be sipping some water while we're talking bourbon. But you can also find us on Twitter. That Twitter is at Barrels and Barrels, YouTube, Barrels and Barrels Pod, as well as Facebook, Barrels and Barrels Pod. If you have an email for us you want to send our way, barrelsandbarrels@gmail.com. And please, as always, please rate us, review us. We'd love to hear your feedback, whether it's good feedback, bad feedback. Everything works. We're going to try to do as much change as we can to help make this the most enjoyable experience and listening experience. Michael, any last words for your friends?
No, go find this Jeppson's. This was good.
Yeah, I would say go grab this, especially if you're having a hard time trying to figure out something looking at the shelf. This is a great value buy, and it's widely available wherever they carry it. So you're going to be able to find this, whether that's at Binny's in Chicago. I know I've seen it over, if you're in Chicago, over at Malloy's. And any pretty good liquor store should have this on their shelf. For Michael Burns, I am Brandon Spinner. Thank you for listening to Barrels and Barrels, a Bourbon and Baseball podcast. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And tune in for some more bourbon and baseball talk.
Let's go.